And just like that, we're here for a brand new live stream on Longbox Punk. That's me. I'm Chris. I'm the Punk, and I am joined not just by one, but two creative folks on the show today. I have Merissa Mayhew next to me. I've got Matt McGrath down below, and I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your Sundays to hang out and talk comics with me.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, as a returner, you know kind of the flow of this. You have a handle on it. Merissa, you're brand new, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I love starting all these chats with like origin stories, because this is a comic book podcast, right? So like, how did you start making artwork? How'd you get into comics? Like, what led you to working with Matt on this book specifically, like in 2025?
So I guess I've always been like a drawer. Always liked making stories. Wasn't until university that I really started getting into like web comics. Reading them kind of like saved my sanity in a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it was probably 2017-ish, just after my last year of college, that our local art gallery was having they were putting together a little comic book anthology called Wintergreen. So it was about they brought in 5 young artists from the area to create comics with this theme that they were going to use as charity for the art gallery. So it was kind of my first real experience to put like it was a 5 or 6 page comic together, and just seeing it printed out. And I think from there it kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's something about like seeing your work in your hands for that first time, and like that insane like adrenaline dopamine rush that you get of like, I made that.
Yeah.
It's totally addictive. I get it.
Yeah.
To make more and
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, I don't need to work, right? I can just like quit my job and stop touching grass and just make comics all the time, right? Like that's totally acceptable, right?
I can feed my kids off of my comic income, my mortgage. And,
Right?
Scott Snyder can do it, so can I.
Dang straight. That's right. That's right. So how did like you and Matt get together for a journey into the abyss? Like how did this team come together?
So we were both in the comic anthology Gothic Tales of Haunted Futures, um, which Matt is showing there.
Perfect.
And he reached out to me initially to work on a different project that was going to be for another anthology. But when that didn't pan out, um, he asked, "Well, hey, I have this other idea. Are you interested?" And yeah, I definitely wanted to jump on that opportunity. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was 5 years ago, and yeah, and
Okay.
in the midst of the pandemic.
Perfect timing.
So
Yep.
yeah, yeah, this has been a long time coming.
So Matt, like going back to, I know you mentioned this idea when we talked last time, which would have been probably last year, I think, for like the ID 10T Error 3, 2, I don't remember.
3, yeah.
Yeah. See, I nailed it. So like, I know you mentioned the idea then, so now hearing that you've been working on it since like 2020, like what has been working on journey like for you? Like, what's it like seeing this story that you've been working on for so long come to fruition finally?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of take it for granted. I'm so in the weeds of like
Mm,
Kickstarter planning and, you know, doing all the other kind of like administrative things that kind of come with this of, getting quotes and budgeting and yeah, so I don't kind of really stop and think about like it's actually getting made and we're putting this together. So yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, like it's kind of an idea that I've had, like ID10T Air, um, idea I had in college. I'm kind of just now, getting around, now that I'm almost 40, getting around to the ideas that I've had in college. So the ideas that I have now, I'm probably gonna do when I'm or something. But yeah, so it's an idea I had since then. And it's been like I said like the Theseus's ship of ideas where one piece kind of gets replaced by another idea and one character gets replaced by another character and like over 15 years the story that this is completely different from what I originally had in mind, but that kind of core nugget,
Mm.
it being in a world set in the, you know, the fantastical, whimsical ideas of Georges Méliès, that's the one thing that stuck. So, yeah, I'm excited that it's finally out there and on Kickstarter. We're doing this thing.
Yeah. And for the business side of things, it is linked in the description below. So if you're watching this live or listening to this after it gets posted, wherever, you can simply go to the Kickstarter link that is there. You've got 25 days to go. So it ends on July 24th. If you're coming across this episode before then, you can still get in and back it. You've got, I don't know, I can't do that percentage because there's the conversion and stuff
Um,
from Canadian to US. And
we're at 26%.
okay, well, there you go. Yeah, 26% currently, which should absolutely change and continue to grow. Because so tell me, so here's where my brain wants to go. Tell me about the book first and like the story and like why now. And then I want to get into like, how in the heck are we making a comic about a film that came out in 1902, like 123 years ago? Like how does that happen? So like, what's the comic about? What's the book about? Like, what can people expect if they back the Kickstarter?
Sure. Okay. So the book is maybe I should rewind and go back and kind of describe who Georges Méliès is. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong,
Perfect.
but he was a French filmmaker from the turn of the century. He kind of started off as like a magician, and then, you know, once film came along, he started experimenting with it, and he made hundreds and hundreds of films over, I don't know, 20-year period. Hundreds still exist, but there are hundreds and hundreds that are lost as well.
Mm.
So even if you don't know the name, you probably know A Trip to the Moon from the iconic image of the man in the moon and the rocket gets shot into the eye. So yeah, like he was the first filmmaker to really use the technology of film as like an art form, to do
Mm.
some, yeah, to create something that you cannot replicate with anything else or that you cannot replicate with in real life. So the kind of simple ones is, the um, superimpositions, stuff like that, the kind of quick edits or filming, then you cut, and then you place something in the frame, and then you continue filming, and then it makes it look like it just suddenly appeared there. So pretty simple stuff to us, but at the time, like in the, I don't know how intricate the ways he did it was very, still is like super impressive. So this book is like basically a sequel to A Trip to the Moon. So in A Trip to the Moon, they go to the moon and they kind of explore there. In this one, we flash forward like several years into the future where the society is kind of all joined together, like all the different planets have formed this kind of integrated society. And
Mm.
the one territory that has not been explored is the stars. And as much as they try, they can't reach the stars. So our main character, Beatrice, is determined to get there because uh, in another mission to the stars, her spouse tragically lost their lives. So this is her driving kind of motivation is to complete their work and
Mm.
finally
Mhm.
achieve their goal. But to do that, the uh, she has to enlist a former colleague, this insane, crazy professor, Barbin Fouilly. Say that right? So yeah, they kind of put their griefs aside and journey into the abyss to each other. And so yeah, once they finally do get to the star, spoiler alert, um, they kind of find out that, it's not this great place to explore. It's this kind of very Lovecraftian realm of horrors that they have to defeat this evil entity from entering into their cosmos and destroying everything. So yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
was a very long-winded way of explaining the story.
No, that's great because like it unlocks a lot of other things that I'm going to ask about. So like how did you like did you take like some sort of film study class in college that you came across Méliès' work, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how?
So,
Okay.
yeah, no, yeah. I started off. I might have mentioned this in our last interview, but with ID 10 to Air, like I wanted to make that into a film, and this idea was the same thing. So when I was in university, I really wanted to be a filmmaker. Um, and yeah, I went to film study school. So I didn't do like the practical part of filmmaking, but like studying filmmaking,
Mm.
uh, essays and critical analysis and all that. And that's where I came across his films more in depth and learned more about the historical side, the background about his films. Yeah, and like I said, like for all the other previous reasons I just mentioned, why I think his stuff is so cool is you don't really that aesthetic is not really used anymore. That kind of blend of science fiction and fantasy.
Mhm.
The only really two examples I can think of is like the Smashing Pumpkins Tonight Tonight music video,
Yep.
and
Yep.
more recently, what's it called? Oh no. I saw the TV Glow. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but there's a lot of like Méliès inspired there. The villain of that is kind of like a dude with the his head is a moon. Um
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
much
so
a dead
yes.
giveaway, right?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
So, Merissa, like, were you familiar with any of these like trick films, or did Matt introduce you to all of these as well?
Oh, definitely introduced me to, like, I was familiar with that iconic shot of the moon and the rocket at its eye, but, um, a lot of the pages, I think reference a lot of stuff too, which inspired a lot more, um, research
Mm.
and, looking at more of his films and the way that they were produced, so yeah, it's been great experience.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, if you want to check them out, like I think his longest film is probably a half an hour, and majority of them are like 2 to 5 minutes, and they're
Yep.
all, well, not all of them, but a lot of them you can find them on YouTube. So, yeah, like I think you watched the Merry Frolics of Satan.
Yeah,
Yes, you
sure
reviewed
did.
that.
Yeah, that was a lost thing that I tried to do at one point. Yeah. But like um I love seeing those old shorts, especially from the early 19 single digits, because of just the appreciation for the craft of like, I can't believe for us it's like, oh yeah, you just do a jump cut, like whatever. But for them it was like, that's not how movies were made when they first started being made. And like it literally was a less than 20-year-old form of art at the time that Trip to the Moon came out. Like that it only really started making movies in like 1890s, and so like to be thinking that far ahead of his time is just like insanely impressive. And to do things like people carrying in a long box and they put it down, and then there's a jump cut as they're walking off, that now the box is like opening up and becoming all these people that are like dancing around. Like it's just it's impressive to see, and it's got a very I think whimsy is the perfect like word for the feeling watching these movies, because it's very much like a, this is so charming, and it's so charmingly like uh understated, of like there's no big flash. They did all of these like very impressive visuals with zero CGI. Wasn't even a thing to use a computer because computers didn't exist. Like it's insane for me to, because I've studied film and stuff with my degree in broadcasting. So like I say the breakdown, the production and making them, and I've had hands-on experience doing all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. And so putting that frame of reference into watching something like A Trip to the Moon is just like insanely fun to see how ahead of his time, and also how charmingly like under uh I don't know. I don't know what the right, like retroactively watching it from the future of those movies where his projected future isn't like it never happened. It's just like there's something really fun about that. And so like when you were making the comic, and this is for both of you, like were you regularly watching his stuff as you were like writing it, or as you were, doing all the artwork for it? Like how did that play into the process for the two of you?
Um, yeah, yeah. Like, even in my script, especially like for the first 10 pages or 15 pages or so, it's just most of it is YouTube links to specific frames or sequences from Méliès. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I watched A Trip to the Moon like a bazillion times. I also watched like the like I just mentioned, the Tonight Tonight
Mhm.
music video like a bazillion times when I was um making this, just to kind of get into the mood.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was always like I have a bazillion tabs, but there was definitely like a Méliès tab going while I was writing this.
that's awesome. And Marissa, like, were you the same way where you were just pouring over all of the links that Matt was sending you to like, I
Oh
want
yeah. Oh yeah. There are, yeah, like especially in the first few pages, a few parallels
to,
to the film, between the film and the comic, like some panels. Um, and then there's lots of little bits that um, we pull from to build other, I guess, panels, like for the
okay,
backgrounds or for characters. And kind of trying to keep it like giving it the very theatrical um, sort of feel. Because another inspiration, especially at the beginning, was Matt was saying like a lot of Wes Anderson films as well.
mm. Was that just like why Wes Anderson? Was that just because of his aesthetic of like super wide open feeling everything?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, kind of like I guess the artifice of it, like everything in a Wes Anderson movie looks, like a set. Nothing looks really natural
Yeah,
and
yeah.
looks, yeah, as meticulously put together probably as a Méliès set is. So
Mm.
yeah, that's a good. I don't know. I like his films too, so I
Hmm.
kind of thought those two gelled pretty well together.
What's for someone that has always somehow not ever gotten into Wes Anderson's movies, like where would one start if that was what one hypothetically were looking to do?
Um, yeah, I mean, for this one, definitely like The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. It's probably my
Mm.
favorite. And yeah, there's kind of a lot of parallels with like A Journey into the Abyss, where it's, yeah, they're going onto a mission pretty much into an abyss, deep down into the sea, and it's a similar type of quest where he has to Steve Zissou, he's like a documentarian
Okay.
who like a Jacques Cousteau type thing. Played He's played by Bill Murray.
Mm.
So like his best friend was killed by this gigantic tiger shark or something like that. So he's on a quest to, I think, yeah, find this shark and kill it. Um, so yeah,
Perfect.
it's just all the zany Wes Anderson stuff that happens with that. But there's like a lot of really cool like stop motion um stuff, like everything of like the ship and going out in the sea and like all the different sea creatures, all of that stuff is done with stop motion. And
Oh wow.
yeah, it's the kind of like framing too is, it's just like with all his films. There's no real angles or whatever. It's very much like straight on. Like you place the camera down and then people all stand in front of it, and it's all everything's on the same level. Everything's
Mm,
symmetrical. It kind of has like this proscenium arc to it.
Mhm.
okay.
So yeah, I'd go with Steve Zissou, Life Aquatic.
Okay. Merissa, do you have a different recommendation?
My first Wes Anderson film was Fantastic Mr. Fox. So that's the one I would go with.
Mm, okay. All right.
Yep.
Perfect. And I saw the whimsy magical thing, like that's Merissa, that's your whole, like that's your jam, right? Is all the magic and the whimsy and the fantastical worlds and all that stuff with your art.
Yeah.
Like what about like those, what about that aesthetic, I guess? Me using big words from college. What about that aesthetic? Like as you keep coming back to it.
Um, I'm not really sure how to answer that.
Perfect.
You like it,
Perfect.
I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a style that's evolved over time with lots of different inspirations, and yeah.
All right. Solid.
Got it.
And so Matt, like what, when you were planning this book, and I know you had mentioned like you both had the anthology work and you had tried to do another pitch for it, but like what about Marissa's style where you're like, that's the look?
It's a good question. Yeah, I guess like it was like that. Um, the whimsical, like even when I was writing the script, like the one word that I had in my head at all times was whimsical. Like this needs to be whimsical as possible. Um, but yeah, I think like the all the fantasy drawings Marissa did like on her portfolio and like her past work, that's what really drew me
Mm.
to her work. Um, yeah, I just thought it would be a really good fit for this story. That's a little more, I don't know, fantasy, but also lots of comedy too. Like I don't know. I think it's a pretty funny story as well,
Yeah.
especially Barben Fouilly, who's like just I don't know, over the top. He's kind of like a Bradley again in IT Denti air, like he's very over
Mm.
the top, complete buffoon idiot, but somehow this genius that can do anything. Um, so yeah, like that's another thing. Marissa's like character work, the expressions on her characters, I think is what really ultimately sold me. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, and like if you go look at the Kickstarter page, like there's very and very simple drawings, not simple, but like I don't know, just like very subtle movements and gestures that kind of convey yeah, very nuanced, I don't know, emotions and stuff like that. Just kind of like, I don't know. I think in the scene in Hell when they're just kind of talking like that, there's a lot of really good like body language in there where, you know, Carmen Foye is kind of like tut-tutting her or something like that and admonishing her and yeah, so that's my jam. All that great character work.
Yeah.
It makes it fun to draw too. Um, been given a lot of freedom to add little things once in a while as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
um,
for sure.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
I think like in that hell scene, there's the demon in the background that's kind of like preparing their drink, and he's like kind of going up and grabbing like a bottle, and then he's kind of got the welding machine, and he's kind of welding or not welding, but like boiling the drink and stuff like that. Like none of that was in the script. That was all Marissa. Yeah, that's the best part of making comics. Um, yeah, just
Yeah.
I can write
It's all
a
that
bunch of
like
stuff. But
Easter egg background stuff of
yeah,
like, let's hide some things to make the world feel more real than just having like the talking head characters have open dialogue, adding like a demon mixologist like making drinks, and I can just see like the huge horns and everything. And like that's a super fun image to play with, to like hide in the background of a scene when other things are taking priority. Like that's I live for those things because I don't just read a comic and read the dialogue and look at the main characters and I'm out. Like I will pore over every single panel and look at every little detail and all the things. I'm also atypical in that sense, I think, where like I take a lot of time to. That's why I have so many books on my to read pile. Not because I am overwhelmed with the amount that I have on my pile. Absolutely not that. But because it takes me so long to read, because like I want to enjoy every single thing that's on the page because of all the work that went into it. Like I hate, thinking about the fact that on a huge splash page, especially if it's all like I just read a book, I don't remember what it was, but it was like this big open like sky scene, and there's a ton of clouds and all these things, and it had like a single line of dialogue in it. And instead of just being like, oh yeah, dialogue, okay, next page, it was like, how long did that take for the artist to render just that single page? And I just like glazed over it in maybe 10 seconds. Like that like diminishing return of time is insane to me with comics, because so much work goes into every single line and page and image, like the how everything is framed, all that stuff. Like, do you, as the artist, Merissa, do you find that you like, is that something that with the freedom you're given to craft that, or did Matt have like specific, like, hey, this layout should look like this, or this panel should have this type of framing? Like, was that a collaborative thing? Was that one more than the other? Like, how did that work for you?
I found it was a pretty good mix. Like Matt asked for detailed, so I was gonna give him detailed.
Actually delivered on that.
And then there were times where you had the vision and this is what you wanted, so that's kind of what I wanted to bring to you. And then other times you're like, go wild.
Mhm.
Use
And
this as
do you-
inspiration, or yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember which one is which. But yeah, there's definitely like things that I'm very specific about. There are some panels where I have very Alan Moore-ish, like a whole panel is like a page where I want to be very detailed.
Yeah.
And I post like images there. Like there's kind of like this council in the story where there's this kind of like Senate hearing. So I kind of posted in like a bunch of different kind of parliaments and the US Senate. Um
Mm.
yeah, and then other times like my panel will just be like a 3-word sentence or something, and then you figure it out.
Yeah. And like, is there, so I love having guidelines, just in like regular life. I don't do comic book art at all. But like, I like having guidelines for anything that I'm approaching, instead of like the IKEA, like here's a stick guy with all the pieces, and then here's a stick guy with a finished couch. Figure it out. And like, do you prefer like having the detailed things, or do you, because I know some artists are like, I want to be able to be free and stretch and blah, and then other artists are like, I'm here to bring your idea to life, like give me what you want and I'll, so I can nail it exactly to your vision. Like, do you, where on that spectrum do you find, or does it change?
Maybe it changes. Maybe I'm in the middle. I found it pretty instrumental to help building the visuals and the worlds. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
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 I would imagine it probably is different, like by project, right? Because like
Mhm.
they're all going to have different flavors and they're all going to have different intentions and all those things.
Yeah. Especially too, like because I wasn't super familiar with Méliès's work, and this is probably one of the first collaborative projects that I've been in too. So it's finding
Okay.
that balance and
So
yeah.
then for the flip side, then for Matt, like, were you like hyper aware of like being the first collaborative project that she's worked on, that like, did that change your approach to writing at all?
no, I think I was like aware but not hyper aware.
Okay.
Um, No, like I hope I try to be, I hope I am considerate to the artists that I work with and give, ample description, references, um, yeah, all
Yeah,
that
if I'm
jazz, like
stuck,
very
you have
specific.
this vision.
Yeah, like yeah, even like framing, like, you know, say like, okay, panel one, this is a close up, high angle shot looking down on this character and they look really sad. I don't know, like I'm an actor too, so or I used to act a lot.
Yeah.
So I kind of try and convey a performance in my characters as well. Sometimes I do, sometimes I'm just like they look sad and kind of move on. Um,
But why am
yeah,
I sad? Because you are. I don't.
because the story. Um, but yeah, like in terms of my collaborations, like I prefer something more collaborative. I don't like to be purely the one calling the shots and I don't want to be it's just my vision to execute. I want it to be like this is our book, even though I'm the one that brought it to you, and I guess I came up with the original idea. I still want this to be a real collaborative thing where I bring my stuff, but then you bring your ideas as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, like even the other day with on ID10 Tierra, like Octavio's almost done and he added something to one of the panels that I didn't write, but I think it's like that yeah, it's like my favorite thing that's ever been in one of my books. Um, I can't wait for people to see it. It's so
That's cool.
it's so funny. It has something to do with Burpo. Um,
Oh, perfect.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I love that stuff. Like bring me
Yeah.
give
And
me
like,
give me something I wasn't expecting, but that makes it seem way better.
yeah. Yeah, that's like a we used to use this phrase a lot at my last job of like surprise and delight of like as the artist you think you have it all figured out of what it's going to be like, and then you get the pages back and now suddenly it's like, oh, well, I didn't write a mixologist demon in here. Like that's fantastic. Like those little extra things I think that are the artists like adding their flavor to it. Like I think those are super rad to have, and to have that relationship like with your collaborator that they can do stuff like that and you're like, yeah, let's go, like lean in even more, give me more of that, like to not just have it because you had mentioned that because you've been working on the story for almost 5 years together, but then like since college before that, now it's been like add this piece, take this one off, like it's already been changing, and so it's hard to have that like rock solid finite vision of what it should be or what you had in your head if it's always been changing. And so to have then another person start changing little pieces or adding things, like it only makes it better for the end result. So like with the end result, like and the Kickstarter running, like where's the production of the book right now?
Yeah, so we have I think 20 pages done. Is
Okay.
that right, Marissa?
About, yeah.
20, yeah, 20-ish. So yeah, 20 out of 80, so it's about a quarter way done. And then Marissa as well is um working on like another set of pages
The rest
as
of
we
the
speak.
first chapter.
Yeah, first chapter. So yeah, like for this, the book is kind of told chapter but in chapter segments. Um, so I figure we're gonna release it chapter by chapter once it gets funded. And once a chapter is completed, I'll send out, put it up on Google Drive and then send it out to backers like in an update. So you can
Mm.
either read it as it's completed, or if you don't want to do that, you can read it as a PDF that'll be sent out as well at the end. So yeah, just kind of to keep everybody settled while they wait for the story so they can kind of see it come to life as well. And, you know, they're not getting people impatient or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard thing I think to balance of like when, because everybody that I've asked and just trying to learn the Kickstarter game, like everyone has a different approach for, well, when do we launch the Kickstarter? Like what percentage completed should we be at before launch, during launch, like after completion, like where should everything, and every single time it's different, which, is kind of par for the course of comics because nobody writes the same, nobody does artwork the same, nobody has the same collaborative process. Like everything is different for everybody all the time is what I've learned. So, so as like a new creator, it's like, okay, cool. So just do what works for me and just forget everything else that I've ever read ever. Got it. Okay, great. And leaning into that is great. Honestly, like and knowing that it's like,
even I don't really have kind of like a set thing like for this. It's not completely done, but we're gonna be going along. But for my next Kickstarter, I'm gonna it's gonna be least all the line art's gonna be complete before I launch the Kickstarter and probably like a bunch of the colors too. So yeah, it just depends on like size of the project, yeah, cost and all that junk.
Yeah.
It's mostly costs.
It's mostly cost. Yeah. 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 We can be real with each other. This is a safe space. It's that damn money thing. That gets in the way.
Who needs it?
Right? Again, like, can we just quit all regular jobs and just make comics all the time? That'd be great. Can I get a grant for that? How do I do that? I just want to be creative, so
We actually did try for a couple of grants for this and we got close on one, but no cigar.
I didn't. Yeah, that was a joke. I didn't even know the grants were like real. That's a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a bunch in Canada. I don't know.
Say, is it a Canadian thing?
Yeah, they love their arts.
There's probably a lot of. It's probably just like an American thing that there are not grants available.
That feels in line. Yeah.
No, we tried for. There's a Toronto one that I tried for, and then there was a Manitoba one that we tried for as well.
That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
I am
learning experience.
I'm gonna look into that after this because now I've never heard of someone doing that or like even
like I don't know, maybe like a municipal thing or like a state thing. There might be like art councils or whatever. It's worth like whatever.
Yeah.
Your locality you're in or maybe a statewide. I don't know. Nationally, it might be tougher, but yeah, it's better to go look a little more local to see if there's any arts councils that are giving away even like small grants. Like I would be thrilled to get like $1,000 from
anything helps.
Yeah, totally.
Anything and everything help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with the book and like speaking of the artwork and stuff, Merissa, are you doing lines, inks, colors? Like, is that all you like? Are you doing lettering too, or do you have a separate like letterer for that?
We have a separate letterer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you traditional? Okay.
Yeah.
And is the artwork that you're doing like because of the Méliès like feel? Are you doing? Is there a specific style like analog, digital, like cut out paper things? Like, are you doing any of that sort of thing with the art?
Personally, I find I can work out my ideas a lot better on paper.
Okay.
But then once we get like the inks, or not inks, sorry, the thumbnails and then rough pencils, and I move to the I use Photoshop. I'm very old school.
Okay. I love how Photoshop is old school.
Well, you see all these new programs, and I've just never been that interested to try them.
Yeah, I mean, why fix what's not broken?
Yeah. And then from there, I do the inks, and then coloring. I think that I've taken inspiration from Méliès's films, because originally when they were shot, they were in black and white, and then later on they would have artists, often they were women, who would tint these films to have specific colors.
Mhm.
So I found that I was able to kind of replicate that through
Oh, cool.
these comics. So I'd start um, doing everything in black and white and then going over in color. Um, I was trying to like look into like information about the different colors or inks or chemicals that they use to try and kind of match those colors. So
That's
that's
awesome.
kind of the look that's come out of that experimentation.
Yeah, that's cool. Like that's rad. That's why I love art, because like that feels like the extra 5% of like putting it in with the intentionality of like, I know we have all of these tools and we're still coloring in Photoshop, but like we can still do some things that's like feel like they're replicating what was originally done, to stay true to his original work. Like that's awesome. You should just lead with that next time. Like just, hey, I'm not to brag, but because that's freaking awesome. That's super cool. I'm completely thrown off now. Like, so how far down? Because I get stuck in research where like I just like learning about things. How far down the rabbit hole did you go to like develop your process for doing that same approach for colorizing?
I don't think I looked into it too hard.
Great.
But like finding out, I really wanted to try and find like specific chemicals and specific colors, but kind of only ended up in this dead end where I was like, yeah, well, we used amber for daylight and we used purple for romantic scenes and we used blue for night. So it ended up kind of being more like, okay, this is what it looks like in these films that I can find on YouTube. So we'll make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you use then like similar color palettes throughout based on that? Or did you already have like the palettes in mind before you started like getting into any of that?
Mm, I think I developed them afterwards because I have a little graphic that I like to eye drop from.
That's smart. Yeah. I like that. That's a great idea too. Like that's efficiency. I love it. I'm adding that because then once you've got it, like you don't have to continually be like, what hex code was that? Was it F82 or F8G? That's that's simple. That's great. Taking notes. I love it. I love it. So
Learn
with
stuff.
um yeah, like those are the things that I love finding out, um just based on like everybody's different experiences, because like that could save so much time for someone that's constantly trying to match colors, or like I want to have it similar but not this, like you can just eye drop from your palette and then increase like the contrast or the darkness or lightness or whatever to get just complementary or similar colors and things, getting into like color theory that I clearly know nothing about. Um, other than like, I know Roy G. Biv, does that count? That's about as far as I go with color theory. But
Know that, so you're ahead of me.
the Roy G. Biv like acronym thing was the like they beat that into us in like grade school, with art class. Like, you need to know your colors. Here they are, Roy G. Biv. And it's like, what's Roy? Who's Roy and who's Biv? And why is their middle initial G? As like a second grader, right? And we're just like, okay, what's violet? Why are you telling me violet? It's purple. So, just that's just my own personal baggage. So moving on, we'll jump ahead. If you were able to, would you want to go back and like live as with no experience or knowledge that you have currently? Would you want to go back and live during Méliès' time just to see what like those experiences were? Because clearly like it's been something like a fun world to play in creating the comic. So I'm curious, like, is this like, yeah, it's fun, but like, no, bro, stay here. or you're like, yeah, let's go. Like, fine, that's fine. And that's either slash both
Yeah.
of you question.
So I have to live there forever. I just get to visit.
Um,
That makes
live
a
there.
difference.
It does. It does. You can visit, but it's like an extended visit. If it was like, hey, I'm going to blip you to that time for 50 years, and then I'm going to blip you back, and only a minute has passed here, but you get to go experience 50 years there. Would you say yes?
Probably not. No. No. I'd rather look from it at a distance. There's like a world war, and
That's
then
true.
another world war that happened. Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff happening now, but I don't know. A lot of bad stuff then. Yeah, I'm comfortable here in our current awful, horrible times. So yeah, I just I like s- being in the safety of my own home and watching Méliès films from a distance on YouTube.
Indoor
That's my
plumbing
answer.
and antibiotics.
Fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Fair.
fan of that.
But
Definitely fan of that.
I feel like it would be fascinating just to see how they put those sets together and gathered all those people and
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if I could like specify I don't want to go for 50 years, but like, can I just go and like be a fly on the wall for Méliès for like 10 years? Like, I just want to
Have you
see how he's
seen
making all his
Mhm.
movies.
Have you seen Hugo by the Martin Scorsese movie? Hugo, a
No,
big part of the,
it's
yeah,
on my
a big
list,
part
but
of.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, really? Yeah, Méliès is like a major character
Oh,
in that
cool.
movie.
Okay.
So there's like you can even go like YouTube. Like they recreated some of the films, but like kind of like the backgrounds of it, like them where they would have shot and how they would have done, just like the kind of nitty gritty of how they would have made some of these films.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, check
So
out Hugo. Good movie.
I just haven't searched the right thing, is what you're telling me. Got it.
It's based off a children's book by
Yeah.
Brian Selznick.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Um I had other things. What do you think he would be doing? Méliès would be doing if you reverse that and he was living now instead of then. Like, do you think he would be like a James Cameron type, or like would he be like have more like social commentary type things? Like, what kind of films do you think he'd be making if he were a filmmaker in 2025?
It's a good
Good.
question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like he'd be making, yeah, big, huge CGI or whatever. Like maybe not CGI, but he'd be more into practical effects if he was right now. Like he'd be more Chris Nolan, where he actually has to go to these places and shoot on shoot on location and do these crazy stunts by hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there would be like a lot of like it wouldn't just be disposable entertainment. Like even a trip to the moon is you can't really tell because it doesn't really have a story, but it's meant to be very kind of a anti-colonial and really
Mhm.
to be a satire of colonialism. So yeah, I think there would be a message behind all of his films if he was still doing it today. Like yeah, yeah, definitely a lot of social commentary.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess like I wonder too if he wouldn't be, because you always hear, and you might not, I might, that's a projection. I always hear about people like, oh, it really felt like this person was just that other person, but like now instead of then, when you look at history, and history is not my jam. I don't have the brain for it. I never have. I don't have the attention span to like memorize names and dates and places and all. I was terrible at history other than Egypt. I loved Egypt. But like hearing the like, oh, that they've just, I don't, and of course I'm blanking now on whatever that's called, reincarnation, that's the word. Like, do you think uh would Wes Anderson be the closest reincarnation to someone like Méliès because of the like intentional approach that he has with like crafting and creating his sets and films?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like James Cameron would, like you mentioned, might be kind of closer because like James Cam, like he's always like he's an inventor too. Like he didn't make Avatar for years and years because the
Yeah,
technology didn't exist yet. So he had to like first he had to like build the technology or like work with people who could build the technology that he wanted, and then he made the
which I
movie.
love. I love that that's what happened.
Yeah. So I think it yeah, it'd be more like that. Like he would be more he was a magician too, Méliès, and like a craftsman. So yeah, more on the James Cameron spectrum. Like if he wanted to do a special effect practically, like he wouldn't throw up a green screen or even
He'd
though those big
probably do
super
it
impositions
himself.
typically are, yeah. But yeah, you gotta like dig in and figure out how to do it. You gotta make the tech first, then shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, I love knowing because I love the Avatar movies. Like I just think that as much because of the fact that he wrote those, shelved it for 25 years waiting for the tech to come around and it didn't. And then he got tired of waiting, made the tech and then made the movie and then released it. Like it just that whole thing is just like cool. Of course you like all right. Um like what kind of person has that type of drive to say like what do you mean as a society we haven't developed films that shoot in 3D? Like it's 2007. We need to make that technology. And so he just did. Like dude, you're insane. No one does that. But I love the movies and like that was one of the movies that actually that's probably the movie that I watched the most in theaters even though every time it gave me a headache because my brain couldn't
Yeah.
handle like the amount of data it was taking in. But every time I walked out and I was just like, that's insane. Like it's just insane. And he's got stuff planned out until like 2038. I heard like some insane future year of like, yeah,
Yeah.
every 2 or 4 years or whatever, I'm going to release another one.
I
And
heard he like wants to take a break from making those movies to like do some other franchise.
okay.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah. I guess like the next one is coming out this year, I think. And then maybe
Yeah.
he has more planned,
Fire and Ash or Blood and Ash
something
or
like that.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
Instead of the water, now he's doing fire. And I'm here for it, man. I don't care. It's got blue people. I'm in. It doesn't take much. I so with the this is a hard transition with the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
um like what was your approach to like putting together all of the rewards, the tiers, like what how much planning like went into all of that for you?
Yeah, pretty good amount of planning. Like we have a risograph print or not a print, a book plate that we're offering. So that's something I wanted to do. I don't know for a long time. Like, yeah, I don't know. We get a lot of Kickstarters too. And whenever I get like a print, with my book, I'm like, it's cool, but I don't usually put them up. I just kind of put them in my desk, and then that's where they stay. But like a book plate, I'm so into book plates. Whenever I get them, I'm so excited.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, because you can just take off the sticker and then you put it in the book, and then it lives there forever.
yeah.
So we're going with like a very kind of classic book plate that has kind of like the border design and then the ex libris thing at the bottom where you can fill in your name. So yeah, that's one where we'll both sign it, and then you can go up like another tier where Merissa will do a sketch for you. Yeah, and then we have variant covers as well. So that was yeah, more planning. I think like kind of planned that like 6 months out or something like that. So Fellhound did one of the covers, and the other is by Jen Woodall, who's a Canadian creator. Well, they're both Canadian creators, but Yeah. Are you familiar with Fellhound? Like the what'd she
I
just do? Sir
Mm.
came out from Boom Studios.
I am not. I'm gonna have to look them up.
Yeah, check it out. But yeah, so it rewards yeah, quite yeah, a good amount of thought went into them. To be very strategic, like I need, the basic ones, but I also need like higher tier ones that are going to get me further along in the funding process. And what are those going to be? Like I can put up stuff that's like expensive, but then that doesn't mean people that will actually purchase it. I need to think of stuff like the good price and something that people will actually want. So yeah, the book plate has been pretty successful with that. Like a lot of people have gone for that, and it's kind of brought up the average backer amount. We're
yeah,
offering original art, commissions from Merissa, a chance to be drawn into the book. So yeah, all for pretty like reasonable prices. Like everything's under 100. Yeah, everything's under 200 Canadian. So in
that's
US,
awesome.
it's like I don't know, nothing. Bottle of pop or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My wife spent more on my Mountain Dew than she could have spent on a commission for sure. Yep. I do love backing projects from Canada purely because of that. Like I'm getting so much more benefit and way more bang for my buck than I am backing US. And then I look at like projects coming out of the UK or Ireland or Australia, and I'm like, oh, I should. That's what this feels like. Okay, got it. Cool. That sucks.
That's how I feel like every time
Oh
I want to
yeah.
back a project from the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't even like when I was putting ours together, we initially were like international shipping is stupid. So like I hate it, but like we can only afford to like I feel wrong because our book for physical is just $5. Like it's an 8-page comic. Well
Yeah.
now it's 12 because stretch goals, but like it was like we don't want to get into, hey, pay $27 for shipping and we'll get this to you in Ireland. Like, no one's going to do that in their right mind. So it's like, okay, just do the digital tier for like everywhere else. And then we had a couple people that are in Canada that were like, yo, I know shipping sucks, but like, I'm willing to pay that. And so it was like, okay, well, if you're willing to pay for it, like, okay. And so I looked up the shipping and created like, Canadian specific tiers.
Really?
So like,
Because
yeah,
I like backed it the first day it came out, and yeah, I saw that. Okay, I'll go check back and look at the Canadian
yeah,
shipping
the
because
the
I wanted
Canadian
to get a
tiers were
physical
like,
one.
and see, like I love doing physical and I would much prefer to back everything at physical. Part of it is I don't have the money. That's the large part of it. And then the other part is like shipping is insane. Like it's so stupid. And so like looking at because I have through this show have connected with a ton of people that aren't in the States. And I'm like, well, I still like you're making awesome stuff and you have kick-ass rewards or like super fun add-ons or whatever. And then I go to like back it and I add everything up and I'm like, oh God, with shipping, it's like that just tripled the price. Like I can't there's something in my brain that says no when I look at
Yeah,
the
I'm the
shipping.
same way. As much as I want to back something, if shipping is like if shipping brings it up to like $75 for a 20-page comic, I'm like, I would feel bad about myself I
Yeah.
would feel bad as a person
Yeah.
much for one comic. I'll just wait until maybe they come to a festival near me and then I'll pick it up then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
for whatever, well, I don't know. Maybe there's a good reason, but you shipping to the US from Canada is not that bad. It's pretty reasonable. So
Yeah. I
like
think
even if you look at the
the
prices like on our thing to the US, it's probably a little bit more expensive than what you'd spend, shipping domestically within the US, but not a whole bunch. I think it's $10 Canadian to get the book. So it ranges, yeah, between $10 to $12 Canadian, depending on the reward you get. So It's like what, $8 US, something like that.
I
Eight
think so,
seven.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right
yeah.
around, which honestly, like, that's a lot of the quotes that I was getting for just shipping our book domestically was like,
Mhm.
we got numbers. And that was another thing that sucked was like with shipping, I was like, well, I don't want to put like $5 because it shouldn't cost more than $5 to ship this thing. But then by the time like I do the scale and I weigh everything out and whatever with the mailers and things like that, then suddenly it's like $865 to ship because I, put in like my collaborators in Oklahoma. And so me being in Ohio, I was like, okay, well, I'll just put in like how much would it be if I mailed something from my house to your house? And it came back at like 785. And I was like, okay, well, how much would it be if I sent something with like a couple more add-ons, so slightly heavier? And so I was playing around with all of the weights and things like that, and the measurements for different mailers and stuff. And it was like it still was so far all over the board that I was just like, I can't lose money. Like I can't lose money that I don't have. So I can't lose money on this, undercutting shipping. And so I was like, it's got to be $10. Like, because one of the quotes that I got, if I put everything in onto a scale and shipped it, it was like 980. And I was like, well, if I have a lot of people that are doing that tier with like all of the stuff, that's a lot of people that are going to be, I'm spent like 980 to ship it domestically. And so it was just like, this is such a nightmare. Like this is all just my baggage coming out right now. That's all this is. Like, I'm just complaining about how freaking expensive shipping is because it's stupid.
It's the worst part of Kickstarter, doing a Kickstarter for sure.
Yeah.
And tariffs make it so much more fun and interesting.
That's a weird word to use. I don't know. But yeah, it's like that's also a thing, right? Like we have to adapt for it. So like, are they going to tax it higher on like, shipping it to certain countries or to other places? And I was just like, it's too unpredictable to try and like reasonably predict any of it. So we just have to make the hard decision of like digital for international, and we'll ship to Canada on the Canadian tiers and domestic, and then hope that, like it'd be great to, I have plans to eventually make it to Canada to go see hockey games. Like if I could coordinate that with a con and then just peddle some books at the con, like perfect. But that's not going to be anytime soon because again, money. So it's all stupid. And as Chris is saying, like you unwittingly signed up to be my therapist. That's why I use the show for is I
What we're here for. Yeah. We can start a new podcast.
Yeah.
Kickstarter therapy.
Come sit in on my therapy sessions. That's awesome. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask, because I like the approach, is I know you're releasing as you get the chapters finished digitally. But like the whole book you said was like 80 pages, right?
Yep.
So like was the approach or the intent different to do the entire story all in one Kickstarter instead of like breaking it up into a Kickstarter for each individual chapter?
Yeah. Yeah, like each individual chapter is like 10 pages, so it wouldn't
Got it.
it wouldn't be like, I don't know. Wouldn't be worthwhile to do a Kickstarter for just like 10 pages and just release it digitally, or it was kind of, I wanted to do more of a like maybe divide it up into 3 issues and do it that way. And then like we have a pretty lofty goal for this one. But like reading the script, I just didn't really see any way I could kind of split it up. Like it's a very much needs to be its own one story. Yeah, it didn't really work for me as um 3-part story or like a 4-part story or whatever. Like it's got to be all one thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Merissa, you had mentioned getting into webcomics. Do you also create for webcomics?
It is my intention to do so one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because I'm curious. Once you do, let me know whenever this happens. Like the approach to creating for like an 80-page one shot versus like an episodic like webtoon. Because I've read some webtoons that have like 87 chapters, and I'm like, good grief. And then I read it and it's like, oh, well, this is basically the equivalent of like 10 pages, right? And then I'm like, okay, so this could have, okay, like just because it's in the vertical scrolling format, like it just changes how you read it. And they're their own thing anyway that I have no understanding of how to even begin to create because my brain doesn't work
Oh yeah.
vertically scrolling. And
I
so
don't think I would be approaching it that way either.
yeah, like you would
Yeah.
almost, I don't know. That's a whole separate, like, how does that, I need to get somebody that does webtoons on here so that I can ask them, like, how does your brain work? Because mine doesn't work like that. But cool. So those are my official notes, but you're not done. We have two more things to do. The first is I'm going to take a screenshot. We're going to pose. Merissa, you're doing great with your avatar. So just keep that exactly how you got it. Matt and I are going to pose around it, and then I'm going to take a screenshot. We're going to use that as the thumbnail for the YouTube video forever. And then I'm going to ask you some things. So I was going to try and have this shoot into my eye to be the moon.
Oh man, I had like a rocket that I made for the video. I don't think it's here.
All right, I will just use the mic here. Hey, if you need to, like, if you've got it in another room, I'm willing to. We can just hang out. I don't even care.
I don't know where I put it. Okay, just give me a second. It might be over here.
Merissa, did you have any involvement in that like trailer video that he put
No.
together, or was that all
No.
his?
It was all his.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Tell me when
dude.
you're ready.
All right, let me get my. All right, I'm ready to go. So I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. That's such a
Another
rad
use
way.
for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. See, totally justifies the creation of making the moon face frame.
$2 I spent on that.
Listen, if you, the next con that you go to, once the book is created, you just need to wear that for like an hour at your table. Everybody will stop and be like, what are you doing? It's marketing, man.
It's true. It's true. Okay.
So
Same.
the second thing is what I warned you about before we started, was like, I love doing this show because I get to talk to people with all different backgrounds and experiences. And yet we all have the through line and commonality of we love creating comics. And so I always like to turn over the mic to any of my creators that come on the show to hear your unique voice and anything that you might want anybody that's watching this live or listening later or watching later or whatever, like, what would you want them to hear specifically from you? It could be a sales pitch for the book. It could be why instead of the moon frame head, it should be Jupiter, like whatever. The content doesn't matter so much as I just want to make sure that you both have space to share any message that you might have. So I'll let you decide who goes first and who gets to have the final word.
Sure. I can go with the hard sell on the Kickstarter if that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, A Journey into the Abyss, like we've been talking about. It is ending on July 24th. So we launched on Tuesday. So we're a few days in, almost a week. We're about 26% funded. And yeah, like we said, since it's an 80-page book, I should also mention it's A4 size. So
Oh, cool.
this is like your standard comic, and then this is an A4 size comic, so much bigger.
Love that.
So yeah, it's a big book, big graphic novel, so it's got a big price tag on it. So yeah, and all the tiers are pretty affordable. So you can get $20 gets you the digital version. 25 is for a digital plus, so you get the the aforementioned script with my Alan Moore sized panel descriptions, a digital version of that. Then we have our regular cover by Merissa. So that's $30 Canadian, so it's like kind of a little over $20 US. Variant covers and yeah, so all pretty affordable, I think. So yeah, if all this sounds good to you, check out the link in the show notes and back us, or if you can't back us, if you could share it around, that also really helps. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I have to say.
It's gonna be a big, beautiful, quirky, funny, whimsical, heart-wrenching, adventurous love story book.
Yeah.
And
All those.
all those things.
Emphasis on whimsy, because whimsical
Yeah.
is now like I think you had made a post, Matt, on Blue Sky or something, about something being like having whimsy or being whimsical, and I was like, everything needs to be whimsical, and it just like ever since I saw whatever post it was, I tried to find it and it's just gone on the internet archives out of somewhere. But I was ever since I'm like, we just need more whimsy. Like the world just needs more whimsy.
I've never thought about whimsical as much as whimsy and as much as I have the past, I don't know, few days or while I've been writing this.
I mean, it's a good mental
Yeah,
space
good
to be
thing,
in.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's fun.
yeah. All right, Merissa, you're up. What you got for the world?
I've been thinking about this the past hour, but nothing's really come to mind. But
Perfect.
yeah,
You can
I
do
guess
another
what
pitch
I've
for the book if you want.
well, it's a big, beautiful, quirky, funny, whimsical. um, and it also has queer characters in it too, which I think is really important to have. That kind of representation. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Cool. I don't have anything to add to that either, because like I said, I keep looking at my page like, did I get everything? I got everything. So thank you both for hanging out with me, for sharing just like the approach and getting into the nitty-gritty details with me. Those are the things that I love hearing and finding out. So I appreciate both of you for hanging out with me. Sit tight after I end this. I got logistics for you, but for anybody else, 24th of July is the last day you can get in on the Journey into the Abyss.
Yep.
It's linked below. Definitely check out the campaign because it looks fantastic. You'll look at it and immediately be like, oh, that's what whimsy is. And yes, it is. I appreciate you both being here and hanging out with me. And for everybody else, it's time for the tagline. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics, because we are out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.